Are you there? There you are. Hi. Thanks for joining me. Remember to like, share and subscribe.
Good day, you beautiful people. My name's Bizzle, this is TeaN'BizzKits, and if you're unaware of the significance of the bonnet being on this car, you need to check out part 1 of this episode of getting the car ready for the rolling road. This is part 2 of that, where I'm fitting the injectors, where I'm absolutely massacring a pretty rare set of throttle bodies. I'm doing some 3D printing, fitting a fuel pressure regulator, I'm fitting a fuel rail, and I'm starting the car for the first time in a long time. So grab a tea and a biscuit, hit that subscribe button, and enjoy this week's episode of TeaN'BizzKits.
So we're on to the exciting stuff now. I've just taken the old injectors off, these ones here. So very nicely, AF UK reached out to me. They said they actually watched one of my videos, which is crazy. And they said, we didn't realise that we had problems with these. So big shout out to AF UK Auto Firma, based over in Wales, who very kindly have offered to take these back, send them back to their supplier and give me a full refund. So thank you very much. Anyway, out with them. In with these new expert ones. So this is one that I've built up. It needs to have the long extender on the bottom. And so the ordering of this is very specific, actually. So it took me a little while to work this out. So this is really useful for anyone who's using expert stuff or 4-age top fuel rail mount. But basically you have this larger O-ring. There's 2 different sizes. We're going to go for the larger O-ring that goes down the bottom into the throttle body. Then you're going to have the extender cap. Then what you need to do is actually take off. I need to confirm this with MRP, but I simply could not get this large O-ring. It's actually it feels a different material and it's just too big. That does not go down inside here. It's just too big. Where these ones do, you know, with a bit of pressure, they do push down inside. So you have to whip off this larger O-ring here, fit one of the black ones on. The other one goes onto here. It's tighter once it's down inside, and then that goes on the end, and as you can see it doesn't actually press all the way fit, but bearing in mind it's got 2 O-rings in it. I mean, that is on, that is not going anywhere. And then this drops down inside the throttle body where it mounts with this one, so it's all concentric and centralized. The injector's sealed, and you can see the injector nozzle down inside there, so that's going to sit down secure, all fuel tight, with 3 O-rings in place. And obviously once the fuel rail goes down on top, that's going to press hard into here, and that's going to make sure that all of that bunches up and seals nicely. So that's the ordering of these expert injectors for a 4-age. Larger O-ring, square O-ring, then the extender, remove the orange red O-ring, fit one in that place, and the other one goes on the end, and that goes into this extender, and then you're good. I don't know, I haven't got to this point yet. I don't think you need the top extender. These bits, they might need to go on the top. So I'm going to assemble all of these first and then slot them in. And the reason being is because I'm not particularly keen. I know I need to machine this away, but I'm worried about it hitting this top plate. So once this sinks in down here, you obviously got to get the whopping great plug on, right? What worries me is that I'll machine this too close and then it's going to hit this piece here. And that's going to sink down further than that, and it's already hitting it. So I think I'm going to kick these off to a different place. Maybe round here somewhere. Just a little bit like this, just to give myself a little bit more clearance. So they're not straight up, they're at an angle. See, it doesn't matter, does it? And that one I might just kick off in this direction. This one I might kick off in this direction. And this one I might kick off in this direction. I think I'm going to have to do that. I could not guarantee at all that's not going to hit here, or in this one hit here. It's just, it's this plug here, it's a lot bigger. You see, it's not, this is smooth and quite close profile, but with all the latching mechanism, it sits out quite a long way here. It's on this side that's the problem. So this one will be fine. This one's going to be a problem because of this bolt here. This one's going to be fine. This bolt's going to hit here. This one's going to be fine. So maybe just these two I could just rotate slightly then. Just take it as I go, I think.
So as it's a cold day, I'm having to use a hot air gun to just heat up the O-rings before I press them in, because they're very solid at the moment. Just need them to make them a little bit more pliable.
but just taking my time, working my way through. It's a repetitive job, but it's an important one. With my tools of choice laid out, it's time to do some irreversible damage to these pretty rare throttle bodies. So marking them up with a Sharpie where I need to Dremel, plugging the holes with some blue roll. I then just carefully nibble away, keep on checking, keep on marking, and keep on just slowly tiptoeing through, not to cut too much off. Very seasonal amounts of dust going everywhere, but just take your time and get it done. If there's an option for a 3D printed little cover to go around here, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? To fill that in, but that is not contacting. Won't contact. First one done. Oh, and plug goes on. Jobbed. On to the next one. Me. It's literally out. You couldn't pull that out even if you wanted to. I'm doing that tight as well. I don't want to break it because. Oh my god! Right, now I'm in straight line. Oh, I can't undo it now. I bought this probably well over 10-15 years ago. It was a centre roll special, if you know what I mean. And it's done really well. I've used it for all sorts of stuff. Luckily, digging around in the box where I keep all this sort of stuff, in the bottom was another collet. So the old collet is just worn, really. It doesn't surprise me. It's old and it's been rattling around, especially today. But I've got new collet in there, so hopefully, and it feels really tight. So hopefully it's going to hold. Let's go. So I've come indoors now where it's a little bit cleaner and warmer and I can take a seat at my desk and just slowly work through cleaning this up, getting rid of all of the aluminium dust and debris, cleaning down in the ports, because now I want to test fit these injectors and the fuel rail and see what adapters I need. Obviously still a little bit of dust, but we're getting there. Looking good. I'm happy with this. Now, obviously I did freehand these, so you know, they are a little bit inconsistent. I did slightly angle this away. They are pretty smooth. They look smoother than they do when the light's on the camera. And they've got some good clearance around the plug as well. So they're actually bigger than they need to be. Something that I read on one of the forums was to take off extra material just to make sure that you definitely can plug the plug on properly. And, you know, you don't have to revisit it once it's all cleaned up. You want to do this kind of dirty job once so you can get it cleaned up and not have to revisit. My cleaning options of choice are air dusters, some brake and parts cleaner, and a couple of the wife's paintbrushes. Shh, don't tell her. I'll have to buy some others to replace them. A quick size up on this injector suggests that I do need this top cap on. And this top cap is just going to extend the top end of the injector a little bit more. But one thing I noticed on this, I mean, these are so well made. Actually, down inside here is a tiny little micro gauze fuel filter. Caught my attention when I saw this down here on the other end. So this has got an O-ring and a seat on here as well. So this pushes really nicely into that fuel rail, making sure that we've got a nice tight seal. So I'm going to push that on, and then that should go onto the throttle body nicely. work out how that's not going in. So I got there in the end. I needed a ball nose to get up underneath there. That was the main problem. Now it's all on. It's all nice and secure, which is good. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then injectors are all sitting nicely in as well, all nice and snug. So this is the seating ring, and then up inside is an O-ring as well. And all the plugs go on nicely as well. So the next job I've got is to fit this fuel pressure regulator. So I'm going to come off of this bolt here, which is for the main manifold, and then for the fitment of the main throttle bodies onto the block, or onto the head, sorry. And then there's the old banjo, I think they're called banjos, for the old fuel rail. So I'm going to come off of that as well, screw into there. And I want it to kind of sit somewhere up like this. Now, what I've done is I've just 3D printed this basic bracket. I've got the thicknesses kind of where it should be, so 5mm generally for plastic. I'm happy to go a little bit thinner if I increase the wall thickness and the density inside. This is just 5%, just a quick print, so I can just drill some holes in it, make modifications as I need to. So I can just trial fit, and then I'll take measurements off of this 3D printed part back into CAD to then do a proper part. So it's going to sit against this face, somewhere like this. I think is where it's going to sit. Probably make it a little bit neater when I'm finally done it, radiuses and all that jazz. Alrighty, so I've been doing some nibbling, as you can see here. I've decided not to pick up on this hole because taking a look at the car, the thread that pokes out after I've got the nut on to attach it to the head is not much. So the plastic's going to have to be quite thin. And actually, this is a whopping great bolt that I've got underneath here holding this on from the banjo of the original fuel, so I can get this up nice and tight. It's got lots of thread engagement, which is good, and also it doesn't really matter exactly what angle this is at. It's going to be held in place by obviously this bolt, which is going to stop it from falling all over the place, and I'm going to have like 3 lines attached to it: the vac form, the fuel return and feed for the fuel pressure regulator anyway. So overall this is looking quite nice. As I said, I'll add some radiuses and stuff in time to come, but yeah, it's kind of doing its job really, isn't it? Gonna get back onto CAD, just make these modifications that I've chopped away underneath, etc., hit print, and hopefully I'll have the final product in a couple of hours. I'm going to take a look at this throttle cable. I was going to take it off, but you can see here that it's actually been welded. So I just need to try and cut this weld off without damaging the cable. So I can remove this, and then we're going to thread it up through this, round the back to the fitting that's up here. Man, look, do we go down and then hit this, or over the top and hit this? So I'll bend the bracket slightly. Maybe a little bit more. There you go. Gosh. This is where I realised that my manifold, I've just realised, loads of space. The 3D printed part's now finished. Pretty happy with this. It's just bolting up on this bottom bolt down here, and obviously the 2 at the top. That's pretty on. I mean, that's not rotating or going anywhere. I think I've done something like a 50% fill on the 3D printed part, and I've done something like 6 or 8 perimeter layers. So actually this thin section is pretty much solid. The only bit that's got a 50% fill is this thicker section here. And even then it's only a small part of it in the middle. So this is pretty much a solid ABS lump. So this is not going anywhere at all. So I'm happy with that. Because this is all new and tightened up, before I wire the injectors in, which I will do obviously at some point, I think the next thing for me to do is just plumb in the fuel, because I want to just check that there's no leaks. Tighten up all of these AN fixings, get my fuel lines and everything plumbed in nicely, and then actually get the fuel pump filling this rail up and just checking that there's no leaks, obviously from the fuel pressure regulator, from the fuel rail, the injector O-rings and seats, and everywhere else. So that's the next step. Some of these fuel lines are new fuel lines I've had to run and put in. Some of these are just the old ones. It really depends. But essentially the fuel rail was running from left to right, and now it's running from right to left. So I'm just having to change some of these, put new lines in, new Jubilee clips, and just work my way through. Chopping, putting on, again having to use the heat gun because it's getting quite cold in here at times. Oh, I need to warm that up.
That's what she said.
No leaks.
Yeah, no leaks. No leak. No leak is good. Yeah.
Next job is to sort out the vac feed for the blow-off valve and the fuel pressure regulator and the map sensor and all that jazz. So I need to drill holes in the top of that blanking plate and very carefully mill them out to make sure that they're not too big and not too small, because I want to make sure these are airtight and I don't want to have to put lashings of instant gasket on to make sure they seal. I also have to be quite careful because I have to sit very central. There's not much space. So it's a small pilot drill, and then it's drilling out, checking with the ruler to make sure they're central, slowly using the cone cutter to just make the holes big enough to put the taps in. So I've just torqued down the nuts, chosen the direction that I want these to go, put a little bit of instant gasket on the back as well, just to make sure that these are nice and airtight. And then it should go on top, something like that. Doesn't quite line up. I have to just check that. Maybe I might need to just twist these bolts because it is very tight. So just might have to give this, for example, get this angle away from the edge. That one might be okay. And then so we've got this one that's going off to the blow-off valve, and then this one is going to come round and into the fuel pressure regulator, and then this one is going to come round. It might join that one to a certain extent across here, and it's going to split. Half is going to go to the map, half is going to go to the booster gauge. And here's my new black line, which I'm going to use, which is all nice and a lot neater than the blue. So now it's really only this blue line and this blue one that I've got. Oh yeah, sorry, actually I've got these grotesque blue pipes as well to get rid of at some point. But slowly things are turning black or red, which is neater. Alright, so this is on. I'm going to get some new screws for here, so don't panic, there's only 3 screws. I'm also going to instant gasket this on as well to make sure this is proper, nice and airtight. So the next thing is just to plumb these in. Cut this off. Take this off. Yep. Get out of it. So this is coming from here a Y junction somewhere. Where did I put that Y junction? My little Y connector. I have to come up with a better way of doing this. Not very good, is it? But to put this into context, Sunday night, I've just had 10 of my family over for dinner. Home-cooked stew, dumplings, fresh bread, beer, wine, whiskey. Committed. Why is that, Biz? Why are you so committed? For the channel, well, you know, I love you guys and that, but no. It's because the Rolling Road is on Tuesday and I'm working tomorrow. I'm not going to get back till late. So I can't just finish work at 6, you know, get dinner on the go, run out to the garage, come back in, eat dinner, run to the garage, go back in, put the kids to bed, run out to the garage.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
It's like, really, tonight is the night. And although I've got a belly full of stew, wine, beer, whiskey, tea, biscuits, actually, legit, I did have some biscuits, also had some lovely cheese. I need to get this done. So, rambling on, because they were the good times that have now ended. Right, I need to work out how long where do I cut this? So it's going to go down there. I'm just going to Y junction that up. Do that there, couldn't I? So why don't we literally just do it there? Snip. Doesn't matter if that goes around kind of like that, right? Sorted. Next job is throttle cable. So I've just measured this, trimmed this down to length. It's a lot shorter than what it was. Cut off quite a bit. So it's just going to go from here to here now. So I'm just going to thread all this back on. Hopefully it doesn't burr up. Give it a little twist. Helps, I think. You know, in the direction of the wrap. If you go the other way, it's possibly going to bite into the weave of the outer Bowden cable, which is what these are called, by the way, if you ever wondered. I mean, these are throttle cables. Are you there? There you are. Hi. Thanks for joining me. Remember to like, share and subscribe. This is exciting stuff. But these are called Bowden cables, when you have an inner and an outer cable. And that's going to go up through here. They're used in all sorts of stuff, medical devices, all sorts of remote actuation, which is kind of what this is really. You know, your throttle pedal is remotely actuating the throttle body. Right, so that's in there. A little bit long, which is kind of what I wanted it to be honest. Bend that right there. There you go, that's not going anywhere. Oh, that's a nice bend on that, happy with that. Let's get this through here. Voila. I want this all the way forward. Do I want this all the way forward? No, I don't really, do I? I want it along with my brake pedal. Here's my nipple. Here's in there. Get that about right. Some tight. Happy times. Another job jobbed. We're almost at the stage of getting this all on, aren't we? Oh, got to tighten up that bracket. Otherwise I'll have a bad earth. Troy don't like bad earths. Yeah, baby. Next job I've not been looking forward to is the new injector wiring. So I cut off the plugs for the old injectors as close as I could, and then I'm using a pair of long nose pliers to hand crimp these on. No solder here, I know that's unlike me, but no solder here on these plugs. So I'm going to strip back the wires, crimp on the bare wire, then crimp on the second set, which is on the insulation only, pop them into the pin and put the waterproof seal on. Moving on to instant gasket, and then some new hex head bolts to drop in. One of the next jobs to job is just to make a quick cover up for this, which is where the old fuel regulator sat. It doesn't really matter too much, but I don't want debris and dirt getting in there. So a nice little CAD template. I'm going to cut that out, screw that over the top. That should tidy that up. So, off camera, there's a few things that I've done here. I've just made the banking plate for the top. I've put the nose cone back on, put the ECU, just a cable tie around that, just double, triple checked everything. And now we're going to give it a start. This is where we see whether the injectors work, the wiring's okay. Does it start? Does it run? I hope so. It's currently 8 o'clock on Monday night. I'm leaving at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning for Northampton Motorsport. Please, right now, cross everything, hit subscribe, like, share, the effort I've put into this, please. You know it's got to be worth it. Let's see. We are ready for tomorrow. Relax. Although I can't breathe a breath of relief yet, still a lot of work to do on the car. Need to get the plenum on, need to do a few final checks, need to tie the car onto the trailer, need to tidy the garage because there's loads of stuff in the way to stop it from getting out. I'm not going to bore you with them, just assume that it's done. Next episode, you know you need to tune into that, because that's going to be the rolling road. So remember to subscribe, like, share, all that jazz, and thank you for tuning in. My name's Bizzle, this is TeaN'BizzKits, and I'll catch you next time!